Hello everyone, Spinosaurus Rex here. We're back for another episode of Zoo Tycoon 2. I've started instantly with a game challenge appearing because I was going to start building something, but this little game challenge promises that I will get a free animal, potentially even a tropical rainforest animal that I don't currently have. Considering I don't have any, this is almost guaranteed to be an animal I don't have, so we'll see what that is. We can cheat a little. All we have to do is place 6 jungle-themed buildings. So I'm going to presume that placing 6 jungle restrooms. 4, 5, 6. Does that work? Nope. I think where these are modded, maybe they don't work, but I should still be able to use... Obviously this is cutting into our limited budget a little bit, but you know, what can you do, what can you do? European hare, that's not a jungle animal, really. I'm not particularly sure whether or not I want to have a European hare in my zoo. But, we tried our very best. I'll release that into the world and I'll get back to what I was doing originally, which was to use this area here to have birds. So we have here a Eurasian jay, and we're just going to make a little aviary because that's quite an easy thing to change and upgrade as time goes on, because you don't necessarily have to change what's in the enclosure. You can just release the animal and put a different one inside, maybe change around the food in there, maybe we could knock down fences between two, but basically we're just going to have a row kind of a bunch of different bird enclosures. See. It's basically kind of like what they used to keep like pheasants in, like a lot of old zoos might have something like that. It's quite a common thing to have in zoos. They'll often upgrade them in modern times to include something a bit more interesting that's not a bird, but we're going to start off with having it as a kind of pheasantry style bird enclosure, and maybe down the line we could change it and have something else. Let's build this all the way across. I'm going to kind of stick to this general, that kind of fence with a sand path in front of it style for a lot of my enclosures, just because it keeps everything cohesive. It's already our first anniversary, how time flies. Oof, how time flies. So this is going to extend quite a way, so this won't stop here, it will probably go all the way to the end. In fact, I will do that now. I will just extend it all the way, just to avoid confusion later on. A bit further actually. And one there. What's that? So that's reasonable. That's definitely quite long. We could fit quite a few enclosures along here. So now, what we are going to do is find a nice looking chain link fence. I think this is quite nice. Obviously I have to research it, so I can't just dive straight in with it. Maybe one small one? Yeah, let's go one small one. What I'll do is maybe 4 across, we'll have each one, so we could I think, let's have a think how many enclosures we could actually fit in there. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, oop, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll just go all the way across here, and then we can fit 4 enclosures in. Obviously they won't all be super identical, we'll have a bit of variation between them. Let's keep going. Do need to adjust something here just so I can actually see how long I'm recording for. There we go. I don't have no Cappy or a crocodile, so I cannot do that. I doubt I'll be able to get them in enough time to do anything substantial with them. Okay, so the chain link fence is ready. Oh. Obviously the exterior is going to be a very similar sort of thing. There's not going to be too much variation there. Only because that would be difficult. Don't have the energy for that on the best of days. But the inside of each one is going to look radically different. One should hope, because we're going to have different animals in them. Obviously, we're going to have different birds. Chances are they will probably keep being birds. I may... let's get a darker wood, actually. Instead of using different species, so instead of maybe moving on to maybe some zoos, they might put some small mammals in enclosures like this, like they might start using them for primates or something. I will probably stick to birds, so owls, I'm not sure if I have that many birds thinking about it, so maybe I'll have to use mammals for the sheer reason that I might not have enough to do what I'm thinking here. In general, I think it should be fine. Maybe I can, if I did uninstall Aves, the expansion pack with all the birds, which I may have done, because it interferes a little bit with some egg laying of some animals. I don't use birds usually very often, but it might be worth thinking about putting that back in just so we have a few more options here. If not, maybe we'll just have to use some small mammals just to make it a bit more interesting here. Right. And here's the deal. What we're going to need is aviary roof. We have a black one. Would be nice. No. No. You know, we can always just change the the fences later down the line to fix that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build all the exteriors separately, so I'm going to do that first, so that's all done and we don't have to worry about that ever again. And then I will work on doing the interior. You have the opportunity to obtain an animal that has been rescued from an illegally run animal mill. The species has not been disclosed, and your cost will be $3,800 to ship the animal to your facility. Okay, so it could be a lower risk animal, or it could be an endangered animal. So I think we're going to go for it. We have the money. Extraordinary animal, excellent price. Wow, we'll find out what that is just when I finish doing this. Obviously, I don't have to dedicate myself to building that enclosure instantly. We could even leave that to later on, because maybe it's something so rare that, oh dear, we want it to be up here, in which case I don't really want to just build an endless path here with nothing, oh dear, nothing in between. So we actually got an okapi somewhere. Looks looks like it's phased into a wall. I'm gonna put that over here for the time being. And I think we will definitely want that in our zoo eventually. Be a very nice animal to have. Could build a very interesting rainforest enclosure for that. But yeah, we'll leave that for later. We'll keep that on the list of things that we could do at some point as time goes on, but this is a bit more pressing at the moment. See how this one looks this time. And all my belugas are getting sick because the water's too dirty. It's annoying. Obviously, my zookeeper is not doing a very good job at keeping this clean. Healed. I'm meant to be a good zoo. Not a zoo full of sick animals. Is this the other one? There we go. That's them healed. While I'm at it, I'll make sure the penguins aren't in too dirty water either. That's clean. I would like to decorate the bottom of this a bit more. It's a bit boring looking in this tank. It's just a kind of empty tank, which isn't very exciting at all. Oh, what's my zookeeper doing? Why are you having trouble? Can you not get out of this enclosure? Is that your problem? Let's assign you to all these different enclosures. So those are your jobs. What I'll probably do is hire a completely different zookeeper to work over here on these 4 enclosures. Obviously, since they are all right next to each other, it would make sense. It'd be easy to get to them all. And I had a thought that maybe the zookeepers could be, and the other members of staff could be you guys. So maybe it's people who comment regularly, maybe it's people who offer ideas, maybe I'll set up some kind of, well, I don't want to start thinking about Patreon at this point in time. If I had Patreon, that would probably be a reward, that you would be a member of staff in something that I've created. So that looks quite nice. Obviously this will be filled out a bit more with plants, so you're not just looking at an endless row of enclosures. So let's put a roof on this. I can see that the beluga is sick, but I'm very hopeful that a zookeeper will deal with that very soon. Right. So this roof's all going on nicely, and that is done. And then I'm going to go down and do it like this, up to here, in between, and I'm going to go 1 behind, 2 behind even. And then this is going to be an enclosed area. And that's basically going to be how the zookeepers get in and out of this bird area, this pheasantry, we will call it. Okay, so obviously I just need to fill in these in-between bits. Oh, not like that. And done. And obviously I need some kind of wall to put around this bit here. And as I mentioned last time, I will fill out these areas so they have some things in them, so when we walk through it looks quite nice. If we're going to get involved with things a bit closely. But for now, I'm going to, because obviously we have limited money, I don't want to get too involved with that, because otherwise I will probably find that I'm spending all of my money on very nice decorations and not have any money left over for taking care of our animals. So that is something I am keen to avoid. Okay, ooh. I'm gonna very quickly have a look to see what's going on in my mods folder. Yeah, I do in fact not have Aves installed, so we are quite limited on the number of birds we can have. I don't know if I want to sacrifice the functionality of some of the egg layers for the purpose of having them, but we shall see. We shall see. I think it's gonna have to be that one. The other one looks like it's gonna fall a little bit too short, but that's not a problem. This just makes it look a bit nicer. Oh, we don't have a hole that all the birds can fly out of. So this is just going to be our little staff walkway into the area. So what I will do, find the right fence to copy and pick up just to make things a bit quicker. I'm going to put a fence along here. And I think I don't know if I've unlocked them at this point in time, the signs that say staff only, so we can put those down just so people don't wander through here. Not that they would anyway, now I've stuck a fence in front of it. And obviously I'll decorate this with some trees and some rocks and things like that, so it looks a little bit more exciting. Kind of, I want this pathway to sort of disappear into the trees. I have hiccups. Right, so this is looking quite nice now. I'll decorate it up a bit later. But obviously in the last few minutes we want to actually put something in here. It'd be nice. So I'm going to get a new zookeeper first of all. I'm going to get a new zookeeper and I'm going to assign him to all 4 of the enclosures. Okay. And then it's a matter of decoration. I'm going to save very quickly just in case things go horribly wrong. And I find it's a good idea to actually have 2 saves that you alternate between, because if the game fails while saving, it can crash while saving sometimes when you have a bigger zoo, and that will break everything. You will corrupt your save file, and it is not impossible, but very, very difficult to recover at that point. So we don't want things to get that far. We would like to keep our nice zoo. I don't think I have a tree that's really small enough. Oh, okay, it's red. That's why it's coming up red. I thought it was failing to place it, and that's why it was that colour. Quite limited in what we can place at the moment, unfortunately. I do know I should have some primate enrichment type posts, some big sticks and things that would not be out of place in a bird enclosure. Obviously I guess I have to research them all, which makes things difficult, so I'm just going to dive straight in and spend thousands of dollars on researching all these different... Oh, and that's the ticket booth, which I do want later on for something, so I might as well just research that now while I wanna roll here. There we go. And I'm gonna run over a little bit on time, I think, because I do want to finish an enclosure in this episode. I don't want to leave you guys with nothing and then finish it really quickly next episode and then have absolutely nothing to do. That would be boring and horrible. Now if I float around a little bit, sees, I should be able to get some bamboo, so we can't actually buy those at the minute, but they are around in just because of the location the zoo's in, and I think they would look quite nice in this enclosure, and they do in fact look quite nice. Maybe some of these trees would look nice. I think that looks very nice. Doesn't look, well, I think it's clipping into some of the enclosures a tiny bit, not enough to be horribly distracting. I think I'll definitely fill this up with a bit more plant life because I want each thing to be its own separate enclosure. Like, you're not looking here and you're looking at two enclosures. If you look like this, you can't see any of what's going on. I mean, you'd be able to see it slightly, but not enough to be able to see what's actually going on in the exhibit itself. So things are starting to appear, which is nice. I'll tell you what, let's get right in. Alright, Eurasian Jay. Eurasian Jay, Eurasian Jay. What do jays like to eat? Jays? Excuse me while I Google the appropriate diet for an Eurasian jay. So Eurasian jays, according to the internet, feeding on both trees and the ground, it feeds a range of invertebrates, it feeds seeds and fruits, and it changes with seasons. Okay. So insects and berries out of these. We don't want to be feeding them the incorrect diet, obviously. I'm not sure why they would be eating grass, and obviously we want to put some water down as well for them. I'm going to hide those kind of in the plants. I want them to be up close so guests will be able to see them feeding, but I obviously don't want the actual feeder itself to be visible. I want the feeder to be kind of obscured by the decorations in the enclosure. That looks just a lot more natural. The feeders in this game aren't exactly the nicest looking things in the world. Some of the modded ones are quite nice, but you know, it's few and far between. We are better off just hiding them with plants. Just covering them with some strawberries. Okay. Okay. So I think, what is just missing? We just need maybe one more thing to put in the other corner, so that looks a bit sparse, and then I will focus on some man-made structures in here. So, for example, what we can do is we've got a vertical log, and then we get these ropes. I think there should be one that's a bit, maybe that's too high. I think what we're looking at. That's all right. And then we get our vertical log again. Let's turn off elevated path so I can see what I'm doing. And like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing across here. Very nice, very nice. And once again here. So what we're doing is giving them some places to perch at different levels. have a little table here. So all I wonder, is that going to clip through the top? That's going to clip through the top. Well, that does as well, to be honest. To be honest, I don't know how much more detail you need to go into than that. That looks pretty good, in my opinion. Don't know if I have any little hiccups. I know there is a mod that gives you nesting boxes, but whether or not I have them in my game right now is another story altogether. Also, whether or not they are even unlocked at this stage. I'll have to have another sort through my mod list to see what actually is available to us. Yeah. I'm not sure. I would like to research this wooden platform though, not necessarily for this enclosure, or for any of them. I don't know if it'll, well, no, it could fit. That would be quite nice if we were going to be putting a small mammal in one of these, which we probably will. Now I've realised that I do not have that many birds to play with. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put these little birdies in. We've got one female and her 3 husbands. Very small and very tiny. Cute. So let's stop crouching, let's wiggle out. Wiggle. Slide out here. So I'm gonna see, just before we finish, I'm gonna see if we've got anything unlocked that might look nice to be included in the background. No raised platforms or the like. I guess they have not been unlocked yet, which is fine. We will work on that as and when we unlock things. So they've actually absolutely demolished their water already. We haven't unlocked anything new for them just by increasing that bit of zoo fame as it is. Nope. Which is fine. Absolutely fine. So yeah, we're going to call it a day there. And we will see about, maybe I'll do some little bits of improvements just in between episodes to increase the fame, maybe half the star more, just so we can get the rock hopper penguins and we can do something exciting like release penguins into the wild and replace them with different penguins. And obviously make this area a bit more guest friendly, have some benches and some bins and some donation boxes. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.